I don't understand. What's going on with you two? Neither you nor Baxter knew what to say next. Xavier's plain words hung there in the air until they let you both off the hook. Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if you're new here. My name is Death by Pony and today we're hopping right back in to our life. So without further ado, let's go. Before putting your phone away, you sent off one last text wishing them well and safe travels on their honeymoon. They replied instantly and thanked you for helping to give them one of the best days of their life. When you reached the house, Baxter parked the car, followed you out. In seconds, you unlocked the front door with the handy spare key you'd been gifted and led him inside. It struck an odd note observing how silent the house was without Jude or Scott to fill the space. You were newly relieved to not be there by yourself. Though it kind of sucked to have to pack so soon after cleaning the event room, there was a growing anticipation in your gut that spurred you on. There was no way of knowing what to expect from this temporary moving yourself in with Baxter, but you were optimistic. Peeking past your shoulders, you spotted Baxter in the doorway, who was graciously waiting on standby. And once you were ready, he stepped in and helped you carry bags to his car. Not once did he utter a single complaint, but fortunately you also had brought nearly as much as an entire wedding's worth of things. You hadn't brought nearly as much as an entire wedding's worth of things. Between the two of you, it didn't take long, and as it took to pack Harry's van, and then you were ready to go again. But you did one more sweep of the house to make sure everything was in check. Nothing was left on. You locked the door. The two of you went on your way once more. From there, Baxter brought you to his apartment for a second time and pushed the door open. He flipped a nearby light switch on, and together you went inside. Naturally, you weren't nearly as out of place as before. Baxter wanted you there, and the invitation had made a huge difference. Sighing drowsily, your body knew there was nothing left to worry about. You finally rest. Baxter seemed equally ready to collapse at the end of the long chain of stressful challenges.
Now?
Well, now. He exhaled deeply, and despite his weary demeanor, Baxter offered you an amiable smile. Are you ready to get settled in? We can bring the bags into your room. Then you'd be free to change into something more comfortable, or to pass out, anything you wish. For a moment, you found yourself caught on his choice of words, declaring the guest room as plainly yours. It was wonderful, but also almost far-fetched to believe that you held a concrete place within Baxter's world. That's a great idea. After the busy day you had, you were more than ready to put on something infinitely more comfortable. Wonderful. Baxter rubbed the side of his neck and yawned. He took a pause to get his sore body moving again, and at some point his thoughts wandered off elsewhere. Yes. It glanced roughly in the direction of the bedroom inside. Crossing your arms, you tilted your head curiously. What's wrong? I was recalling the state of my own room, and I'm fairly certain it's a mess thanks to the debacle this morning, so nothing important. I'm not eager to tackle that tonight. It's a problem I'll deal with later date. I'm good at that, aren't I? His usual self-derised jabbing had a little bite taken out of it. He smirked with honest amusement. Pretty good. It was kind of funny, which was wild. Then Baxter brushed that thought off and returned his attention to the present task. Helped you carry your bags. I'll come back into the living room area once I'm finished getting out of this uniform. Feel free to change and decompress at your own leisure. You answered with a content but sleepy hum and followed Baxter to the guest room. Once your bags were safely inside, he cleared his throat. Please excuse me for now. After that, he swiftly exited the room for the first time in a long while. Watching him go didn't strike an odd chord. The two of you would talk later, and you knew that for a fact. The apartment wasn't that big. There wasn't a chance that you could miss each other. In the meantime, you began unpacking and arranging your things in the new space. There was no rush, but the small changes were comforting. Later, when you were showered and dressed much more comfortably in your sleepwear, you found yourself wandering into the living room. There, you spotted Baxter leaning over the counter in the kitchen. You had a sudden realization, despite spending the previous night in the same place, you never caught a glimpse of what Baxter wore to bed. All you saw was the sight of him in leafy underwear. Baxter remained obscured behind the furniture and perused something on his phone with a crease in his brow. He wondered if it was something wrapped some wrapped up still needed for the contractors that worked at the wedding. Before you could ask, Baxter joyfully abandoned his phone on the counter for your arrival. He straightened his back at full length. And you got the best view of what he was wearing. White silk jammies with shiny black trim. On his feet, a pair of zebra-striped fuzzy slippers. Ah, James, hello again. He continuously smoothed the front of his shirt, but froze the second he touched the silky material. The corner of his mouth quirked. I'm pleased to see you're seeming relaxed after the day we had. I'm aware of how this looks with the limited color scheme of my attire, but I kindly ask you not to laugh. I won't. The work clothes we're pushing, but there's no coincidence here. What? I don't know what you're talking about. You laughed. Wow, some things really do stay the same. I've got no complaints. They're very nice pajamas. I'm also quite fond of them, if I'm being honest, but they're not exactly helping my case. Unfortunately, you've caught me black-handed in monochrome yet again. There's nothing unfortunate about that. Oh. Is that so? If you wanna, you can tell me a million different excuses. But that's not gonna change anything. I know how much you love being perfectly styled in black and white. And seeing you that way, too. They're your colors. Baxter covered his mouth and momentarily tried to turn away. He instantly failed to hide his own amusement. Fine, I confess I haven't outgrown the aesthetic as much as I claim. Black and white remain my preferred color scheme. Oh, fine, I confess I haven't outgrown the aesthetic as much as I claim. Black and white remains my preferred color scheme. And all my pajamas are these colors, so you were bound to put all the puzzle pieces together. Your cheeks began to ache from the splintering and Baxter crossed his arms, but your expression remained fond. I only wish to indulge in my habits in a private manner. It'll be our secret then. Baxter's mouth opened and his phone buzzed before you could speak. Does that work? It shouldn't be. Baxter reached over the counter and checked, his playfulness quickly vanishing, his smile strained. Regrettably, no, not work. This should be significantly more painful. His voice fell into a hushed whisper, then he reached for the phone. Hello, Xavier. He muttered in the name like his own personal arch-nemesis. You recognized it immediately. Xavier was the baker and Baxter's work acquaintance who considered him a friend regardless. That put on the reason for the night's call and Baxter's words into much better context. Baxter lightly tapped the screen and set the phone on speaker.
Hi.
Hi, sorry to call so late. I wanted to check on how the wedding went and on you. Now that it's done, are you holding up all right? Baxter's gaze landed on you. The day you met Xavier, Baxter was still trying to push you away as quickly and professionally as he could. It was all incredible how everything had changed.
How wonderful.
That's so considerate. Yes, I would say I'm doing quite well. Hi, Xavier. Thanks for checking in. I'm here, too. Hi, Baxter on speaker. Xavier, good to hear from you. Wow, you're such a sweetheart. We'll chime in. Thank you. Oh, wait, Baxter, who's the... Xavier cut themselves off mid-sentence. Baxter, meanwhile, leaned against the side of the counter and smirked twisted in amusement. He didn't appear to be willing to clarify the conversation anytime soon. James, right? That's who you are? Uh-huh, you got it. Yes, I thought so. I certainly thought so. Hi, James. The tone in Xavier's voice shifted smugly. You watched a small crease form in Baxter's brow. So, James is still in your presence, Baxter? Yes, he is. Even though the wedding is finished? Yes. Well. Xavier huffed confidently, as if their design had all gone to plan, despite them not having any part of it.
That's incredible.
That's lovely. I'm truly happy to hear that, Baxter. I'm sure you are. I also invited James to stay at my apartment for the remainder of his trip.
He's rooming at your apartment.
Didn't you swear up and down that you were, and I quote, never going to associate with him after the wedding? Baxter met your eye for a split second and found himself staring at the ceiling. He tapped at the counter, smiling wearily. Yes, in both matters. I don't understand what's going on with you two. Neither you nor Baxter knew what to say next. Xavier's plain words hung there in the air until they let you both off the hook.
So?
We should get together before James leaves. You did mention that before. I know, I meant it then, I meant it now. Baxter sighed quietly, brushed his hand through his hair. Things never really went his way, interpersonally, relationship-wise. Does tomorrow work? We can grab some coffee. Baxter hesitated and checked your face for an answer. You moved to speak, and he remembered he was supposed to be good at managing people. Please hold. He automatically used his customer service voice and clicked the screen, putting the call on mute. Baxter carefully rested the phone face down. He breathed in deep and then slowly exhaled. Baxter wore a tired smile. I apologize. I should have anticipated that Xavier would follow through on that threat or request. Actually, I did have something in mind for tomorrow. I gotta see my mom.
I understand.
I gotta go see my mom's.
I understand.
Of course, you've been busy with the wedding preparations. Tomorrow was finally a free day. Right, I haven't seen my mom since I got here. They've been waiting for me to come home and visit. That's a wonderful plan. I can drive you out to Sunset Bird in the morning and you can spend some quality time with your parents. They must be eager to see you. Nodding, you were curious about how your day was shaping up for tomorrow. Baxter's return to the neighborhood would be a massive surprise. Oh, don't worry. I'll stay out of your way once you're there. Perhaps I'll accept that coffee with Xavier. What? You wouldn't be in the way. Why don't you come? Are you going to leave me there? Could you come too? Come with me? Don't you want to see my moms? You looked at him confused. Don't you want to see my moms? They haven't seen you in years. I'm sure they'd want to say hi. Please send them my regards. Baxter! Baxter grew flustered in front of your growing frown. He ruffled his hair and used several pieces to stick out in his frustration. His mouth pressed into a fine line. I'm doing it again. It's always my first response. He straightened himself out to proper before speaking to you again. In the spirit of being truthful about my feelings when they're not ideal, I'll admit I'm nervous to meet your mothers again. I'm not exactly thrilled to see what would happen if I appeared in front of them. I doubt they've forgotten anything. I made a terrible impression on them, didn't I? That's fair, but you can't avoid them forever. That's not the strategy that works, remember? He rubbed the back of his neck and shrugged. Baxter seemed to be relieved you were at least able to understand one another. Old habits die hard. You still should come with me, though they thought you were pretty interesting. So they remember me as eccentric and immature. Nothing is as bad as it feels in your thoughts. My parents are sweet, and they're going to hear about the wedding anyways. You're an important part of that story. Unfortunately, those words did little to persuade Baxter. He continued to drag his feet in over this predicament. He wasn't willing to accept the invitation, but also wasn't willing to outright reject you either. I'll go with you to see Xavier if you want to come with me to see my moms. A compromise, Xavier wanted to meet in the morning. Didn't you want to visit your moms first thing? I don't mind seeing my moms later on. We could ask Xavier if they'd rather get a different drinks in the evening. Doesn't matter to me who we see first. There's time for both. Mind seeing my moms later on. I see. Baxter pressed a couple fingers to his chin, reconsidering the options. His brows arched curiously. In that case, would you be interested in revisiting a cafe I took you back to then? It's still in business. Yeah, that'd be cool. Then one final detail. Would you be fine seeing Xavier not too early in the morning? You knew Baxter would agree to whatever you decided, but his brows eyed, begging for mercy. Yep, that's fine with me. Baxter pressed a dramatic hand over his heart and expressed a genuine sigh of relief. Good, it seems we have a plan. Now we need to run it by Xavier, their current schedule. Tap the screen and turn the mute setting off. Xavier, are you still there?
Mm-hmm.
I am. Excellent, thank you very much for waiting. It's fine. I imagine James wouldn't let you hang up on me, even if you wanted to. Very funny. We just need a moment to sort out a few pre-incident details, and you're in luck. James does have time to see you tomorrow. Would you be amiable enough to let us choose the location? There's a charming cafe we like that would be perfect for the three of us. That sounds perfect.
Settled.
Then it's settled. We'll do it. I'll text you the address and a specific meet time after the call. You were proud of him. Baxter had well and truly changed. Okay, James is lucky to have such a well-mannered person to assist. Personal assistant. Baxter caught your eye for a split second, and you swore there was a mischievous glint He moved closer to the phone and smirked. I'm not his assistant. I'm James' boyfriend. Xavier didn't say anything. The line fell completely silent until you heard a long, deep breath.
I could not have heard that right.
No, I think you did. Your grin stretched from ear to ear. Baxter's charming ease in declaring his new position in your life was exhilarating. Baxter's delight and the joy his wording brought you, softened in his expression, only made your heart pump faster. Well then, I need you to explain that later. Of course.
Goodbye for today.
James and I will see you tomorrow. Xavier, goodbye. Bye, thanks for calling. Wonderful hearing from you. Can't wait to see you. You stood there. Can't wait to see you. Ditto, we'll have coffee in honor of our new friendship. I'm honestly not sure how I feel about you two spending more time together. You're thrilled, I'm certain. Bye. So Baxter tapped the screen to end the call. He left the phone on the counter. Just like that, the two of you had a full day of plans set. His full forces smile dimmed for a little while. You both managed to be casual, as if everything was normal and nothing had ever happened, like you'd never been apart. But in the late hour, when there was nothing left of casual life distractions, the lingering unease revealed itself. I apologize for keeping you up. I don't mind. Then would you want to talk for a little longer? As sorry as I am, I don't think we've been as open as I could have been. You accepted how I was, still am in some regards, but can't fully understand it, am I right? He was there. He was. There was no denying that you'd have never grasped the reason for the way he acted. If you have something you'd want to say, I'd be glad to listen. Then Baxter's attention wandered about his apartment. He slipped his hand into his pocket. Could you move this downstairs? The lobby of my building has an amenity I'm rather fond of. Interesting. This had already taken a turn for the unexpected. But it was whatever. It would make him feel better. You could go with it. Sure. Thank you. You headed down out of the apartment, down the elevator to the ground floor of the lobby. From there, you went to one corner where seating area surrounded a chic modern fireplace. It was alight, and that was what he was drawn to. You knew it without being told. Here we are. After sweeping his hands over the space, Baxter settled into a chair by the fire. You took a spot near him. The fire popped and crackled. He watched the flame, hypnotized by the way they danced. This is a humbler setting than the last fireside talk we had, isn't it? After such a long walk down memory lane, it would have been lovely to return to that mountain lodge together. Brandon and Terry will be taking a grand trip on my suggestion, might I add. It only seems fair we should as well. Throwing up his hands in mock defeat, Baxter could only laugh to himself. Of course, when have I ever taken my own advice? My own damned advice. Well,
never.
Don't answer. I know, it's never, or perhaps never until only today. Yep, that was the correct reply. At least in this case, it's not for lack of trying or stubborn impulse to do the opposite of what would improve my life. It's the matter I warned you about, the charming reality of limited expendable income. I can't afford to flitter off on vacations whenever the mood strikes the way my parents can, but I have a very comfortable existence. He shrugged a shoulder, sinking deeper into his seat. It's nice, if lonely. Of course, let's not pretend I have anyone to blame for that other than myself. I ended every relationship I had with my own actions. It's the story of my life. I want to be liked, but I don't want to be important. A suitor for a season, a planner of a wedding. It's the kind of role I'm comfortable in. Perhaps that's why I'm drawn to people who are wanted by everyone else. They don't need me. They can be someone, I can be the one. I can't be the one. Why? The words came out instinctively before you could stop yourself. There was no reason for him to believe that about himself. You couldn't accept it. Baxter's arms and legs crossed as he closed his eyes in contemplation.
To be honest,
I'm not sure I would have been able to answer before, even if I wanted to, which I didn't until very recently, as you saw firsthand. I understood where my limits were and generally left it at that. But where did those lines come from? I'd begun to reflect on it since I met you. Again, seeing you made me doubt my own motivations. And I came to a conclusion somewhere along the way. I knew it all along and simply chose not to think about it for a long time. Finally, he looked at you again. His eyes were dark pools, crystal clear but bottomless. I don't deserve to have that kind of relationship with another person, that's why. The same question came to the tip of your tongue. Why? You felt as if you were asking that with him, but this time you didn't have to. Baxter answered the unspoken plea on his own.
You need to understand.
I don't contribute anything. Maybe I can impress others for a time, but how do you go beyond that? I can't say what it means to be significant as a person, to be irreplaceable. And since I don't have the answer, I certainly wasn't going to assume I'd do it by accident. The more Baxter's voiced these long hidden feelings, the quieter he spoke. Baxter whispered to the fire as if he was all alone. What does it take to add value to someone simply just by being there? I tried, but I never knew. In my eyes, there's a word of humans living freely amongst one another, while every connection I create is so fragile. And we're going to end that there. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, hit like. That way I know you're enjoying the content I'm making. Hit subscribe. That way YouTube brings you back Here's What Happens Next. I won't take up any more of your time. Have a good day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.